Well, Corey, let's head into lore corner.
Let's do it, lore corner.
We've got some stuff here. This is a really, really, really long thing because there's a whole bunch of different things going on here. I'm gonna just touch on some tidbits from here. We're not gonna like read a whole bunch. No, we're gonna break it all down at the end. Like, no, we're just gonna kind of talk about it as we go. It opens up with some exchanges between Ikora and Mithrax here.
Mithrax.
Yeah, which I actually think is a little important. It's him kind of trying to figure out why on earth would the Traveler abandon us, and then you're so loyal to it, for example. So, dear Ikora, with respectful courtesies and a proper bow, I've read the text you sent, and I understood very little. My thanks multiply. Truly, my knowledge of the light is distinct from your own. For me, light is in the air and in the joints. It is eaten. It is received in radiation and discharged in neuron. It is not separate from the physical world. It is the world. You speak of light as an intervention in a reality from outside, parallel to causality. This is not my sense of light. But as you say, I should not diminish my own kinship with the light, for it is in all places and things. So I do not try to be a false guardian. Instead, I preach to my people that we must be the best Elixni we can be. But there always there is the question, why did the great machine leave us? Why it became your traveler and stayed to guard you? This question haunts all Elixni. It makes us think we are fallen. I have accepted the traveler is not mine to judge, but even without judgment, I am curious. Why did the traveler leave us but remain with you? I do not ask for an answer, only your thought. Dear Mithrax, with my own proper Irelis, what if the traveler abandoned you out of mercy to give you a chance? I won't pretend to understand what your people experienced during the whirlwind, nor do I ask you to measure your pain against ours. I only mean this. We know no human settlements beyond this system. We are surrounded by darkness, trapped at the center of a cosmic war. The traveler's presence draws the attention of every great power in our galaxy and beyond. It protected us and gave us the light, but in doing so it doomed us to war against its enemies. There is a very good chance humanity will go extinct here. But there are Elixni who survived the whirlwind. There are Elixni alive around other stars, alone and small in a dangerous universe, but free of any obligation to the traveler. I believe that the traveler despises coercion. I believe it would not force the responsibility of defending it upon one of its chosen species unless it had no other choice. Why then does it choose species to uplift in the first place? Why doom Elixni or humans to be a confrontation with the darkness? Perhaps it will not let the darkness coerce it into abandoning its purpose. Perhaps it doesn't value longevity the way we do. Maybe it values a short, bright existence more than a long, ordinary one. I have no idea. When the traveler left Reese, it gave your people a choice. Some chose to follow the traveler. Some chose to go make new lives. And you chose to stand with us against the night. So I want to just talk about these really quick. It's pretty cut and dry here. But focusing on what Ikora says here, there is a good chance humanity will go extinct here. And she talks about not knowing about human settlements beyond the system, but notes that there are, and we've seen Elixni gathered around other stars. What if this is kind of, we know they like to set up things in the collector's editions and in the lore for what's coming in the future. What if this is part of what we're dealing with in Lightfall? That the traveler either gets captured and we have to free it a la Gaul, or it straight up runs.
Yeah.
You know, and in an effort to save us, but ultimately it ends up dooming us. We've long had the theory that we're going to abandon Earth and the last city in Lightfall.
I mean, even the solar system at the end of Final Shape, right? Like,
I do. Yeah, I 100% think this is setting us up for that. And I do think, I've joked like, oh, well, we're going to leave with Mithrax and, we're going to go see Reese. And I mean, it's not that far fetched. Like you're telling me there's other Elixni collectives out there.
Yeah.
What if we encounter them? Like that's still a way, I think, to keep them as enemy characters then.
Right.
Oh, you're fighting marauders and raiders. We know that's what the entire civilization boiled down to after the traveler abandoned them.
Right.
They became more like Aramis than they did Mithrax. And even Mithrax was that for a while, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely there's some hints here for sure.
Right. I mean, the questions Mithrax is asking are legitimate questions, right? And like, it's just how the Elixni have responded to that question, right? Is like most of them followed this one path and Mithrax chose to follow a different path, but they're still seeking answers, right? It's when they're trying to like murder us in the Cosmodrome, like that's totally a valid like it's totally a valid action for them, right? Because they felt abandoned.
Especially you think about the legend of the saint.
Yeah.
You know, how they see us ultimately.
Yeah.
If we're continuing to discuss, you know, things that are coming in the future, there's a message here that's about the drifter. If the light forgets while the darkness remembers, then why does a ghost's power of determination let it access latent memories imprinted in the dead? That's paradoxical. That should be property of darkness. How can such fundamentally opposed forces do the same thing? Am I as shallow as those guardians arguing over power levels, trying to force a simple binary upon a complex spectrum? The drifter talks about spectrums of light, powers this ghost can access because of its modifications. Forcing the metaphor, I thought, light is not light. It doesn't have frequencies or spectra. But if we're all constrained by our internalized ontology, by our tact understandings of how the world works, maybe the circumstances of extreme survival compelled the drifter to explore a new ontology. Maybe his ghost achieved a new way to think about the light.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is interesting for a few reasons. So, ontology is defined as the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being, or as a set of concepts and categories in a subject area or domain that shows properties and the relation between them. So we're getting really deep here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if this is all about trying to figure out, you know, new ways to survive, and the drifter did it before any of us, and it says, now they describe his ghost in the next line. Says a sacred void would not be ashamed to think she knew less about the light than a greasy near cannibal with a mutilated ghost. Are we going to modify ghost at some point? Are we getting ghost modifications beyond just resource detectors and extra XP boosters? Is that something that can possibly happen? And I think there is evidence later on in all these transcripts.
Yeah, like are the ghosts gonna be similar to like weapons and armor eventually? You know?
I would think so. I'd actually be kind of surprised if it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
There's another section in here, and I mean, again, like if we read all these, we'd be here all night. There's a few paragraphs here, and counterintelligence. Update review, and it's really dealing a lot with Aramis, Varix, and Mithrax. This person kind of floats assassinating Mithrax. VIP 3987 Mithrax, the self-styled Kell of Light. This agent urged skepticism regarding reports of 3987's cooperation with Guardians. Those reports have been confirmed. The outcome was that he was welcomed into the city with a colony of fallen, leading to civil unrest. This ugly episode reinforces the volatility of human-fallen relations. To quote the past report, one or two sympathetic outliers cannot be relied upon to erase the wrongs of past centuries, nor should their good faith efforts to correct the sins of their forebears be taken as sufficient symbolic reparation. Note that the reliable intelligence places VIP 0013, the warlord guilty of the sack of London's survivor populations, within this fallen colony. This agent strongly urges extradition of 0013 for trial. The magnitude of 0013's crimes cannot be lessened by time or personal transformation. I don't think that we know who 0013 is. I'm actually like fairly certain we don't know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm checking real. I had a cheat sheet for these at one point. I do not think that we know who 0013 is. My guess would be possibly Spider. That would be about the only one I could think of, unless it's just somebody we don't know about yet, which is entirely possible. But that is that's something that happens there. They talk about Aramis and like how they think that Varix is going to turn on us as soon as it's advantageous again. He may have helped us seal Aramis, but he is going to turn on us 100% as quickly as possible.
Oh, Varix.
They literally describe him as a turncoat here. There's just a lot of stuff here. I'm scrolling through. I'm trying to find exactly what I was looking for, because there's some really great stuff in here about the Truth to Power lore book from the Dreaming City. later on. A lot of this is talking about like games. Ikora and Zavala are playing a game of Go during part of this, and everything's kind of being likened to a game at one point or another. Where is the exact paragraph I'm looking for? Sorry, there's so much here. There's a lot about the gardener and the winnower.
Yeah. There's so much. There's 8,000 words, you said?
8,000 words, so, yeah. I mean, I'm maybe 2/3 of the way through down now where I'm scrolling. So there is one that's about us. That's about the young wolf that Chalco sends, one of the agents of the Hidden, one of Ikora's agents. You once told me you consider VIP 2014 to be a real friend. We are VIP 2014. Someone you trust implicitly, but 2014 was forced to use stasis during the events on Europa. I know he's just one of a number of powerful guardians from the Cosmodrome cohort, but there's no question they're an influence on their peers. I hear gossip that their ghost is overwhelmed sometimes by the need to support a guardian who's taken such huge risks. He tends to minimize his own needs rather than push back. He's barely even confided in other ghosts about his own repeated possession by the intruders. Silence about such an invasive trauma while he's working with a guardian who's consistently forced into close contact with the traumatizer? That worries me. How does that feel? Having a trusted friend set the precedent for guardians using the darkness to save the day? And I know exactly what we are. We're best frenemies with a history of intense mutual hurt and messy reconciliation, leaving a deep tenderness as well as an almost impenetrable knot of scars. What could be simpler? And I think that this is important. Like this is how other guardians are seeing our guardian. And I do expect this, like we said, a lot of the plot lines are starting to converge. I do think that especially if Savathun is resurrected before the end of the year by Imaru, that we're going to have to deal with some of these questions.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if we get another darkness power in Lightfall, which I think is entirely possible.
Right.
If not pretty much assured. We're going to have to answer to a few people. And Ikora simply responds back to Chalco just saying, one stone, this is the Go board analogy again, one stone can change the whole landscape of the board. Of course I worry what side played that stone, but guardians make their own fate. Fuck yeah, they do. That's what I'm talking about. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous that we're being doubted. We've never doubted no one bot for a second. But I do think that raises an interesting question that we talked about ghost modifications. I think this kind of furthers the evidence that we may get that. Like, we've never really, if you think about it, we've never dealt with how Ghost feels about all the events of Beyond Light, and especially the Witch Queen. You know, you see how mad he is when you're chasing Savathun.
Right.
You know, you hear that, and it's a little funny because it's so, like, out of character, and Ghost almost doesn't sound serious. Like, you killed my friends!
Yeah.
Like, it's just a little silly, but I think it does point to a deeper issue that we've never really discussed. Like, Ghost is an actual character, even though he's really our unreliable narrator at times.
Right.
He is an actual character with, you know, feelings, and we've never addressed what happened in Shadowkeep. We haven't addressed Beyond Light. We haven't addressed any of this. I mean, the seasonal events, he's just kind of sat there completely silent watching all of this, right?
Right.
At what point are we going to have, and I think that has to be saved for Lightfall or for the final. I don't think you can leave it till final shape. I think that has to be part of the story of Lightfall is, if we're having to use darkness powers, like say the Traveler flees and we lose access to using the light, and we have to use stasis, and like if the poison subclass, the poison vapor subclass is real, and we use that, like how us only using that, how does that affect Ghost?
Yeah.
Are we going to be forced into an alliance with Savathun at some point? You know, that's entirely possible.
Right.
With the Lucian Brood. And I think dealing with how Ghost is feeling is going to lead to some really interesting plot lines, because that is something that even in the lore, we've really only tapped the surface of how ghosts feel. We feel the resentment of the Hive ghosts. You know, we've gone into some of that, and you know, I think Finch still has a role to play in all this too.
Oh yeah.
If this is the case, I think Finch has to come back into the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere at all.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I think it's an opportunity for, most ghosts are just like, they pop up, but they don't talk in game. Sagira was a rare exception.
Right.
Finch is a rare exception.
Right.
And Maru, like, it's really only been in recent years. And I mean, like, we have evidence of Sundance and Geppetto talking in the lore. They've never talked out loud.
Right.
Like, Sagira had a ton of dialogue in the lore, but just what we had in Curse of Osiris, you can only pay Marina Baccarin so much money.
Give her more.
But you look at all that, and then I think where we end here, and this is a mega exchange. This is the Truth to Power one, and all I'm going to read on this, because I think it's fascinating who wrote it. The head of Dead Orbit, Jalal, has written all these messages to Ikora, and they're going back and forth, just being increasingly snarky with each other, right? I give up. We may have quit the tower, but I still need your help. For 3 years, we've had our best analysts working on the documents slipped to the Guardian via the Queen's Court, the so-called Truth to Power manuscript. All we've got to show for it are burnt fingers and bad arguments. Here's what I believe we know with confidence. The author of all these documents is Savathun. The documents are an extension of Savathun's strategy in the Dreaming City. They're Cyrillic, deceptive, and fond of the "you did exactly as I planned" mantra. There is no encrypted content. Any solvable encryption scheme would have been discovered by the mass scrutiny of ghosts. Therefore, encrypted information is little different from plain text, so there is no purpose to adding solvably encrypted information. Any unsolvable encryption scheme would remain unsolved and is thus equally purposeless. Therefore, the true message of these documents can be obtained simply by reading the text. The true message concerns A, the importance of singularities in Savathun's personal cosmology, and or B, instructions on how to mantle Savathun. We've had ships sweeping the edge of the system for orbiting singularities, but we don't know the mass of the distributary or exodus screen's outward vector at the time the distributary formed. We don't even know if the distributary singularity inherited the exodus screen's vector, leaving it on an escape trajectory into interstellar space, or if it emerged at rest with respect to the sun, meaning it would fall directly towards the sun and pass through it over and over. Add the gravitational influence of the planets, and it could be anywhere by now. We're looking for a microscopic point in a volume larger than the solar system. We thought about using fleets of sensor mites to search for a gravitational influence, but then we realized the Nine are in competition with us to find the singularity. They would certainly use their phantom mass to interfere. Unless it's been right in front of us all along, right in the sky of the Dreaming City. Could they have found some way to harness the singularity, to park it where they can guard it? If so, we must obtain this capability. And then I like what Ikora says back. The Truth to Power documents are Dulin Karu's plea for her mother's love. She wrote a biography of her mother, an attempt at understanding in the hopes that Savathun would also understand her. Imagine how lonely it would be to live in the High Coven where everything, all communication is deception. Imagine if your mother had never once told you the truth about anything. And there's so much here. I really encourage everybody to read this, but the things I think that we can take away right away are, I like that the distributary is talked about a lot here. It is clear that the distributary is going to be something that we deal with, whether it's in this story or if that's something that we do in the first expansion after. Maybe that's the beginning of the next saga, is the distributary. Maybe Mara returns there with the Awoken of the Reef, and they're like, hey, our job is done. If the Awoken want to stay here, they can, but we're going to go back. We're going to go back where we came from. And it's entirely possible that something like that happens. But I think that it's interesting that we have this discussion happening now about Truth to Power. A lot of this is just stuff that we've known forever. Mm-hmm. We've known a lot of this. We knew it was all deception from the very beginning. And I also like that farther down, they have made the player who got to level 999 and went into the Shattered Throne and beat it solo, without dying, trying to prove a point. They actually made that a plot point in here. She may have already accomplished what she wanted. Some damn fool guardian carried out her instructions on a dare. I don't know why she wanted a powerful guardian to destroy Dulin Karu in the ruins of Mara's throne, but she wanted it to happen, and I'm guessing the effects weren't felt here. I think she got a glimpse into a world above our own. maybe even a kind of influence. Of course Savathun is still with us. She walked among us as Osiris. She tricked us into removing her worm. She hasn't vanished into some higher reality. I don't think she built a wormhole into another universe and walked through it, although her intrigues with the Nine have focused on creating singularities from dark matter. She keeps a lot in irons in the fire, our witch queen. I think rather she sent instructions on how to mantle her. I think the whole Truth to Power manuscript is an ova, a manual on how to behave like her, how to describe her through action and thought so completely that you become her and thus give birth to her. It's done in the Books of Sorrow to recall her from true death. It might be done again. Something else that happens here at the very end of this. Savathun, part of what Ikora and Jalal are speculating on throughout all these exchanges is that maybe, and they're kind of metagaming here, right? Like, well, maybe they're kind of breaking the fourth wall. Like, well, maybe, this is all just a simulation, Mm-hmm. And Jalal ends with this. The light is non-computable. It cannot be simulated in conventional physics. That proves that any universe with the light cannot be a simulation. Our universe can contain simulations, but it cannot be one. Maybe this other world Savathun touched is subordinate to ours after all. Maybe they are the ones who exist in our minds, a dream of a purely material world, adrift in the true cosmos of light and dark. Poor frail dreams, the things she would do to them. And this is just kind of like a meta commentary on the whole thing, and because Savathun's broken the fourth wall, taking over Twitter accounts and going into the TWAP and things like that. Like, they've had a good bit of fun with that, and I really hope it never goes beyond like, oh, we just had some fun there. Mm-hmm. That was just some brand marketing, because I think that you're kind of playing a dangerous game when you're saying that fictional characters are breaking the fourth wall from a video game into this. Like, it's not like Deadpool looking straight at the camera and talking. Like,
right.
This is actually like a gigantic like space opera at this point.
Yeah.
And this huge like Herculean Homeric epic,
Yeah.
in the vein of the Iliad or the Odyssey, not as eloquent as that, but along those lines, the
says
hero's
you
journey. We're on the hero's journey as the young wolf, right?
Yeah.
So if we're doing that, like, I don't want it to ever be beyond that. I do like the idea that maybe I don't take the lines that Ikora says about her touching the world above her. I don't take that as her touching our world. Like, yes, we know she technically did that, but I don't take it as that. I take it as touching the world above. Maybe she did touch the distributary because we knew she was trying to get there. She's trying to get into the singularity. Like, maybe she did. Like, maybe there is something happening and we have to go cleanse the hive out of it eventually. I don't know. Like, there's so many wacky things you can do here. What is the true purpose of the Nine? Like, we've got 2 expansions left, guys. I'm going to start needing some answers on things that I've wondered about since 2014.
Right.
So we're going to kind of leave this there. There is so much to unpack here. We touched on like maybe a sixth of what's in here.
Yeah.
There's a lot about the psychometer that comes in the collector's edition. There's a lot of tests that are being done, a lot of analysis. There's a lot of really great stuff in here. And there's still some stuff from the collector's edition book that I want to dive into while we've still got some time left in this season. Mm-hmm. Specifically some Fenchurch lore.
Right.
That we get. I think there's some really great stuff. But this is metagaming in the absolute most Bungie way possible.
Yeah.
They've been doing stuff like this since I Love Bees. Mm-hmm. And they've only gotten more complex in the last 18 years.
Yeah.
So there could be a load of nothing in here. These could all be signs of what's to come, or, maybe things that are still years away. They like to tease what's coming down the pipeline in the lore, though.
Right.
And I think hiding hints in things that the community had to come together to put together, like, they wouldn't have made it that painstakingly annoying if there wasn't a reason behind it. If there weren't things to be discovered in here.
Right.
So.
You're all right there, Josh.
I'm all right there. I'm all right. We have one more thing to do before we get out of here. We had a question come in.
We did.
Tonight, right before we started recording. If I can get my page to ever open up. Screw it. I'll do it on my phone.
I'll do it myself.
I'll do it myself. Yeah. My laptop is like, no, you're trying to do too many things at once.
Yeah, dude, my laptop
I can
is
hear it
like
chugging right now.
my laptop will not stay on unless it's plugged in. I mean, it's a 2014 MacBook. It's had its run.
Farewell, old chap.
Yeah. Well, not yet. I need to figure out how I'm going to get a
this
new
comes
one.
in from Andre. This comes in from Andre. Top tier favorite moment of the season so far. So season of the Risen. Corey, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
I mean, I think it has to be the whole Valis Forge scene, right? I mean that's what makes sense for me, at least, right? Where, Crow messes up and Saladin takes the fall, and he becomes Valis Forge, and that whole scene, and then obviously Zavala is ready to like fight back, but then
the wild thing here is he's Brachus Forge, and then they promote him to Valis.
Yeah,
he gets promoted.
Yeah,
this is wild. I agree. There's nothing that tops that. That whole cutscene, the lore piece about Crow, the one that we get as a follow-up from Saladin, the message that Saladin leaves us, and I think the lasting image of seeing the axe and the Iron Banner pendant sitting next to the war table, like that all just kind of, I think, combines together to take something like, we don't have to have some 9-10 week epic. Yeah. Sometimes you can tell a more effective story in 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, we always go...
That's my moment. That's absolutely my moment.
Yeah, I mean, we always go back to the scene where Zavala finds out who Crow used to be, right? And he still helps him up, right? This is kind of up there with that for me. Like, it's just such a powerful moment. And, like, those cutscenes are, 5 minutes long, maybe? We've gone whole seasons that didn't tell a better story. A lot of seasons.
I think the cutscene is powerful on its own, but I think really, and this is what I was trying to get across in our lore readings from them. Pages 4 and 5 of the Quintessence book really, really, really enhance the understanding of that scene, I think. Because you understand why Crow was on the ground screaming when we walk in the door, but then you understand the gravity of Saladin's sacrifice also, that he keeps getting challenged to rites of proving aboard the ship, and it's basically like he's asking Kaido, please tell them to stop challenging me, like I'm so tired of killing them, essentially. And she was like, nope, you're a Valis now. And it's like, oh shit, he's already got a promotion. Even the dialogue in-game changes after that in the Psyops Battlegrounds. Zavala literally, if you do the Cosmodrome one, you can get a line of dialogue at the end of it where Zavala tells Saladin, you would tell me if I needed to come rescue you, right? And Saladin says, fear not, I'm safe, my old friend. And it's just like, oh my god, it's this moment that we've waited for so long for these two to actually have a relationship, and now one of them is off with the other's booty call.
I forgot.
So
about that.
the fact that Saladin goes from not trusting the Cabal this time last year to now being on the War Council as a Valis. Like, if I don't get a scene in the final shape or in Lightfall of him holding his axe and leading them into battle, we have been gypped as a fan base.
I want Saladin to add horns to his helmet.
Dude, I really, really hope that he has a new set of armor when he shows up for the Iron Banner rework next season, saying that Keitel had some ideas on how to improve the banner.
Yeah.
I'm so curious for what that means.
Yeah. Gosh, that'd be cool.
And I think the fact that we could sit here and have these conversations is evidence enough that is just such a great plot line.
What if they merge like the wolf motif with like Cabal armor?
Dude, what if the wolf motif is Cabal dogs for a season?
What if? So you know how the ornaments look this season, right? The Scion kind of looking thing?
Yes.
What if they made like a robotic wolf set? that kind of looked like the Scions with a wolf kind of motif going on.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Dude, give me, instead of the Iron Banner wolf logo, give me that, but with the Cabal War Beasts for a season.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Oh my god. Okay, so you remember the wolf cloak from
I do.
Destiny 1?
I do.
Give me that, but a Cabal dog.
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome.
Would that be considered cruel by Keitel, or would she be willing to donate a few million for the cause?
I think she'd be all right with it.
This is how you're gonna finally get your furry monster boots, Corey. It's gonna be Iron Banner armor instead. We've gotten so much Cabal stuff. Like we got the Scion Sniper back in Season of the Dawn as a legendary. We have Grand Overture now. We've gotten Heir Apparent. We have the Scion armor.
Yeah.
Which, can we just note how much better the Scion armor is than like the dildo looking armor that we got last year?
Oh my gosh. Remember like the Titan helmet had like the 3 balls on top? Oh, so ugly, dude.
It's so bad. It's so terrible. It's something that's only familiar if you go into the bowels of the internet or into a Spencer's circa 2006.